Hello friends, welcome to a journey that is once again about to take us back to the world of Pandora, a place where every breath echoes with the voice of nature and every battle carries a deep emotional core, a world where not just the visuals glow but the souls of its characters burn with intensity. And today we're talking about a film the whole world has been waiting for over the past 3 years. Yes, we're talking about the third chapter of Avatar, a film the world knows as Avatar: Fire and Ash. And while some are calling it the Seed Bearer, today we will refer to it by its Fire and Ash identity because this isn't just a sequel, it's a burning warning. A journey that flows from the peaceful depths of water into the blazing heart of a volcano. So first, let's talk about the release. Officially, this film is scheduled to hit theaters on December 19, 2025. Just days before Christmas, when the world will once again return to cinemas. But this time, the screens won't glow blue, they'll burn red with embers. And in that very moment, James Cameron's third grand offering will rewrite cinematic history once again. This time, technology, emotion, and warfare will reach their ultimate limit. With a budget of nearly $400 million, Avatar 3 is not only among the most expensive films ever made, but also one of the most technically advanced and ambitious projects in Hollywood, especially because this time it merges both the elements of water and fire, offering a visual experience never seen before on the big screen. Now coming to the star cast, Sam Worthington returns as Jake Sully. Zoe Saldana once again brings Neytiri's emotional strength to life. Sigourney Weaver takes Kiri's mysterious character deeper than ever before. And Kate Winslet returns as Ronald from the Sea Clan. But this time, audiences will also witness a brand new clan, the Ash People, a Na'vi tribe that worships not water or trees, but fire itself. Their prayers are whispered in the ashes of volcanoes, and they believe that anything that cannot burn is weak. When it comes to box office expectations, analysts believe that Avatar: Fire and Ash could earn between $2.5 to $3 billion, making it one of the most successful films of all time. And this success wouldn't be because of its visuals alone, but because of its story, which blends personal, familial, and civilizational battles all in one powerful narrative. If you've seen Avatar: The Way of Water, you'd remember that by the end of that film, peace in Pandora had been shattered once again with the tragic death of Neytiri. Jake Sully transformed back into a soldier. Neytiri's eyes no longer held tears, only fire. And deep within Kiri, Eywa's mysterious force had grown even stronger. She was no longer just a girl, she had become a harbinger of something greater. And now the story begins right from that point, where the world of water is slowly calming and the air of ash is rising over Pandora. The Sully family now lives with the Metkayina clan, but deep down, Jake knows this peace is temporary. His eldest son is gone, his wife is shattered, and his younger son Loak is burning with rage. Kiri's powers are giving her strange dreams. Dreams of scorched earth, rivers of ash, and a whisper that says, "You are the one who can save Pandora or destroy it." Meanwhile, news arrives from the southern regions of Pandora, lands covered in lava and volcanoes, where reside the Ash People, a tribe that neither worships Eywa nor respects the Sully family. To them, Pandora is nothing more than a battlefield, and fire is the only path. Their leader is Takar, a scorched, fierce, and merciless warrior who believes that Pandora's salvation can only come through destruction. He believes Eywa has abandoned them, and now it's time they become their own gods. And when he discovers a crashed human ship with a few surviving soldiers, he doesn't befriend them. He uses them, takes their technology, and turns them into fuel for his fire. When Jake Sully learns of this, he's once again faced with a difficult decision. Should he throw his people into another war, or should he preserve the fragile peace and wait for the destruction to come? But this time, the situation is different. The enemy is no longer just humans. It's Na'vi themselves, and when Jake seeks help from the other clans, some are afraid of Kiri's powers. Some still see Jake as an outsider, and others have already been influenced by Takar. Once again, Pandora is splitting into two, one side chanting Eywa's prayers and the other echoing the call of fire. And that's when the first major attack happens. Takar and his warriors strike a peaceful clan that belonged to neither Jake nor Takar. They were just surviving. That clan is burned to ashes, innocent Na'vi die, children scream, and Kiri sees it all. Her heart trembles, but this time she doesn't remain silent. When the ground of Pandora trembled and the lava began to freeze, it felt as if time itself had stopped, as if Eywa was listening to the silence that spread across the land after Kiri's scream. And in that ash-filled air, which until now had carried only the weight of destruction, a faint breath of hope began to stir. But in that silence, Takar did not remain still. He saw the distant eruption and realized that this war would not be fought with swords alone, but with souls. And at the very center of those souls stood one name, Kiri. There was no longer any doubt in Jake Sully's mind. The soldier within him had awakened once more. But this time, he was not alone. His wife Neytiri, who had been consumed by grief over their son's death, now rose like a goddess from the ashes, not gentle but blazing, and every step she took felt like a cry from Eywa herself. And Loak, who had turned the pain of losing his brother into fury, was now seeing war as a sacred mission. Yet amidst all this, Kiri's face remained the calmest, as if she already knew everything, as if a conversation was happening inside her, one she could not speak aloud and no one else could hear. And from that very silence, the true story of fire and ash began. The Ash people were no longer just a tribe. They had become a force. And Takar, no longer just a leader, had started to grow into a myth. The human technology he had captured was now being used to create a new breed of life, fusing the power of fire with Eywa's wild nature. His laboratory was a volcanic cave where, under the heat of lava, creatures were being born. Not entirely Navi, not entirely human. Something in between, something so terrifying that even Jake's eyes would freeze upon seeing them. And on the day when all 3 moons of Pandora appeared in the sky together, Takar launched his first major attack. This time, it wasn't just fire. It was living weapons flying through the ash-filled sky. Jake Sully called upon the remaining clans. Some came, some feared, but those who stood together made a vow to form one last alliance. It was named Eywa's Last Breath, and Kiri was declared the soul of this alliance. But Kiri said nothing. She simply closed her eyes once, and from her lashes a soft blue light spread across the gathering, as if Eywa herself had given her blessing. And so began the preparation for a war that would become Pandora's ultimate test. It was decided that this war would not be fought in the open, but in that sacred valley where Eywa had once moved her forests for the first time, a mysterious place where water, fire, and sky all touched each other. But to reach it, Kiri had to go within. She had to find the fire that was burning inside her. And one night, as she sat alone beneath a dead tree, she saw him, Neytiri, glowing in soft blue light, smiling, and he said, "Kiri, you're not just power, you are the companion who can turn fire into song." And that moment changed her. She was no longer afraid. She was no longer surprised. She had understood. To win this war, you didn't need a sword. You needed the balance of the heart. Meanwhile, on the other side, Takar finalized his monstrous creatures. Eyes glowing with volcanic red, skin covered in hardened lava. They didn't speak, but when they moved, the ground scorched beneath them, and behind them, they left not just ash, but darkness. And when they launched their final assault, the entire sky was lit with fire, a sight seen only once before when humans first arrived on Pandora. Jake Sully stood at the front line with his warriors. Neytiri flew like an arrow through the lava-filled air. Loak had picked up his brother's gun once more, and Kiri, she stood calm amidst them all. And when the first creature charged toward her, she closed her eyes and placed her palm upon the ground. And in that moment, the heart of Pandora pulsed. The trees bowed, the color of water shifted from red back to blue. And from the sky, as if an invisible force had drawn a line, the light and the darkness were separated. On one side of that line was fire. On the other was spirit. And standing on that line was Kiri, no longer a girl, but Eywa's voice itself. As she raised both hands toward the sky, lightning struck her, but she did not fall. She opened her eyes and said, "Enough," and then something happened that no soul of Pandora had ever seen before. Rivers turned to lava, but instead of flowing forward, they began to retreat. The fire creatures began to cry as if their very souls were burning, and Takar, who had believed his power to be absolute, wavered for the first time. He stepped toward Kiri, but as he reached her, she bowed her head and said, "You were made from the same soil, but you chose to worship the ash." And in that instant, a burst of brilliant light exploded, and Takar froze where he stood. In his eyes, only a single question remained, but the answer was no longer needed.